Hello, everybody. My name is Ian Kirkpatrick. I am an author and robot, and today we're doing some more asking, writing, answering, writing questions, or writing. Let's see what people are thinking about. But before we get started, number one, if you enjoy what I do on this channel, smash that like, hit subscribe, share. When we hit 1,000 subscribers, I will do a shelf tour. You can't even see it here because I'm in the void. But there are some interesting things over there. Number two, if you're a creative and you'd like to be featured on this channel, check out the two links down below, PitchFit and Lemoy. We got some things going on this channel. And then number three, check out my upcoming book, Bleed More, Body More, all the stuff down in the description below. Comes out in October, gonna be lit. So with that said, let us get into it. I know. I think character being too unlikable is a valid critique. I mean, technically, let's talk about critiques in a second here. When I say unlikable, I mean the character is too unbearable to read or watch. If I gotta take breaks from whatever media I'm consuming because a character's attitude or actions, it's an issue to me. Don't get me wrong, I have morally horrible characters just as much and even more than the good characters. There's a difference between I love to hate this character and I just hate this character. I don't understand why some people will call likable, unlikable, bland characters realistic. I know we're horrible, but dang. So the first thing that I want to mention about this is that everybody has different limits, where some people will totally hate characters and some people will totally like characters. I'm talking about you, Leo, in The Stars We Steal. I hated that character so much. I wanted her to suffer, and I only hated her more knowing that she would not suffer. The intentions, I don't think, were behind that character to make her a terrible, unlikable character, and that tends to happen with Mary Sue's. Is the character is kind of a dick. I've noticed this especially a lot with female characters, female main characters, is that the character is kind of a dick. Nobody recognizes that the character is a dick. Everybody around that main character, for some reason, loves that main character and never talks about how they're kind of a jerk. And they're selfish and mean, and nobody talks about it, and they just get away with everything. And that is actually what I dislike, because it is not realistic. Yes, it is realistic in a kind of people are drawn to jerks in real life, and they'll let jerks mistreat them, and people will get involved in toxic relationships. But I don't want to read that character. I hate that character. But if you look at The Stars We Steal, a lot of people like Leo. I don't. So when you're getting feedback, or when you're reading something, or if you have received reviews on your book, you also have to recognize who your target audience is. And some people may just not like your style of character or your way of writing. And you have to determine if the feedback that you've received, the reasons why that person hates that character, are valid in the way that they come through, or if it's just, okay, this isn't the type of character for that person. So with Bleed More, Body More, some of the reviews have come back with like, I didn't like Joey that much because she makes some stupid, impulsive decisions. And there was somebody that said I couldn't ever root for her because she was kind of making bad decisions. Yeah, she's kind of a train wreck, Joey. I hate to say it, but Bodymore, is Joey kind of self-imploding as she's at the end of her stick right now with her best friend going missing. So you're not going to see her make a lot of good decisions, and she has never really been great at making decisions, since she makes them very impulsively. But some people will be okay with following this character along as she self-implodes, and other people will be like, I want a story of a hero or somebody who's doing bad and is going to make decisions and I can get behind them, rather than watching somebody self-destruct. So, it is a valid critique to say this character is unlikable, or I have to take a break from this character, but also knowing if you're the target audience of the book, or if you as the author are reaching your target audience and this is just somebody that's not going to like you. You will never please 100% of people, and I have to remind myself of this all the time. I start getting low feelings on certain things. It hit me earlier today. Where I was just like, what the frick am I doing? Everything I do sucks. Why am I even trying? It hits you. Even if you've got like majority of great responses, it's still going to hit you to make you go, what am I doing? I could have done stuff better. What could I have done better? I don't know. But somebody didn't like this. And that's just the reality also of making your characters. I know in the future, when I release my Jeffrey Dahmer inspired book, people are, I'm expecting some division on that. It's going to be interesting to see how people feel about Abel, specifically being a victim of Cain, and how people feel about Cain, because he's kind of the the rocketeer of them all. But yes, unlikable character is valid. Sometimes, a lot of the time, people write unlikable characters without them meaning to be unlikable. It's just the way that we respond to their traits. Know what you're responding to. And if you're the author, know if the response that you're getting is a personal, subjective response, or if you are actually objectively incorrectly writing a character. If the plot of a book/story cannot be pitched to a reader within one simple sentence, is that a sign of poor writing, good writing, or neither? I have seen this type of sentiment in writing advice very often, but the more I think about it, the more I start to disagree with it. Some of the best books or shows I have experienced are complex and abstract to the point where they are hard to get across in one sentence, and I think that may be the goal. If shooting for marketability and a wide target audience, then yes, it makes sense to have a kind of plot that is easily pitched, but from a more artistic POV, maybe not. Okay, so a pitch is a marketing tool. So any big complex story, and it's always going to seem like the pitch is not doing justice to the story, and that's because they're really not. Your reason for having a pitch or a one sentence is just to tell a potential reader or a potential interested party what it is they're about to get into without getting into all of the heavy details. If you think about on TV Guide, I don't even know if TV Guide channel is an actual channel anymore, but if you think about the little blurbs on, say, Amazon or on Netflix, when you click over a movie, that single sentence that it gives you, it doesn't tell you all of the complexities that is going to be in that story. It just kind of gives you a vibe of what it is, mostly genre and mostly who your main character is. And the point of that is just to get somebody's appetite wet. Like, oh, if I'm looking for, say, a story about a ghost town, or a story, I would really actually like some more ghost haunted locations, abandoned building places, movies right now. But if that's what I'm looking for, if you just have your one sentence blurb that says this group of teenagers goes to this abandoned location, I'm down, because that's what I'm looking for. Am I looking for the complexities of the folklore behind this or how good it is or any of that? No, I'm just looking for literally abandoned place ghost stories right now. And that is what that blurb does. Your simple one sentence, if it's for your own story, it shows how well you know your own story to the ability that you can boil it down into one sentence. But being able to boil your story down into one sentence does not mean it's good or bad. It just shows how well you know your story, and if you can do that. I could not boil everything down into one sentence because I don't know every story that well, but it just makes it easy. Like if you talk about Huxley's Brave New World, boil that into one sentence. You can. Does it capture all of the complexities of it? What a dystopian future where everybody is fed pleasure to distract them from the horrors of everything else. Does that capture all of the complexities that you get in Brave New World? Absolutely not. But you're not looking for it. You're just looking to give somebody the flavor. So if somebody is looking for a dystopian story, they can see that in your blurb. Does that make sense? It was the hardest, it has always been, it is the hardest thing to boil stuff down into a single sentence, because you're like, what is important? And I want people to know that this is special and to know how much effort I put into this. But how do I do this? If I go, Jan is a Ukrainian YouTuber who, I see that's even going too far. If I'm trying to think of boiling boom down to take out all of the complexities. You gotta just take all of it out. A bomb expert YouTuber gets tied up in an American plot to start a war with Russia. Boom. Something like that would be the one sentence capture of boom, but it doesn't capture all the complexities and it doesn't capture the personality, but it gives you a sense of what you're in for if you want to donate some time to that storyline. Long answer short, being able to pitch your story in one sentence doesn't mean it's good writing or bad writing. It means that you know your story well enough to boil it down into the most essential thing that would show up on Netflix if people were looking for a movie, and that is just to get it sold for a specific, if somebody is feeling a vibe. If I've been in the mood for just finding abandoned facility. I think since I watched The Resort a couple months ago, I was just like, can somebody throw me some more abandoned places stuff? The Resort wasn't even great, but if I'm just in the mood for watching abandoned building flicks, I don't really care. How to write a story in which a protagonist does not have a character arc. I'm trying to plan a story in which the main character is a dog, and whenever possible, it does not show human characteristics. He is a dog, so there are no questions of the human arc and internal reflections. Not only that, the dog goes on a long, lonely journey. He meets new people along the way, meets obstacles and experiences adventure. My question is how to get a sense of change and progress typical of trauma, where the character sets out into a new world with a thesis, encounters an antithesis, and assimilation takes place, after which the character is smarter, and my main character does not have a character arc. If my main character does not have a character arc. Number one, if you're doing a story about animals and you want to see how animals can go on an adventure without a character arc, I don't know if it's been a while since I've seen it, but go watch Homeward Bound, because that's characters going on a journey. But I don't think that you can totally have zero character arc if your characters are going on a journey, because they're going to have their starting point. They're going to go through hardship because they're going on an adventure, going on a journey, and they're going to, unless it's to capture like a mystical device of some kind, or an artifact, then they're going to come up against things that are going to change fundamentally who they are in order for them to get to the goal. But also you can go and look at any sort of action film, go and look at stuff that is like James Bond films or Indiana Jones films as standalones, and see how his character interacts with the plot, with the action, without changing as a person. One of the best things that you can do for yourself with questions like this is go and find other stories that are like what you are trying to do. So Indiana Jones or 007 or Jason Statham movies, where the focus is the journey, not the character. My character feels flat. What can I do? So I've been writing for a good 10 years now, and recently inspiration struck for a new story, but somehow I can't get my protagonist quite right. Somehow she just feels flat, and I have no idea how to fix it. My main focus is not to turn her into a Mary Sue, and I don't want to make her quirky or too unique. I want her to come across as human, someone who struggles, but those struggles aren't supposed to be the focus of the story. Simply, they're part of her. I've decided to saddle her with commitment issues with a solid foundation why she has them, which matches with all of the possessiveness of her male counterpart because it affects their relationship. I've already written down a few scenes that were floating around in my mind, but when I reread them, I got bored with my own character and by the relationship that she has with the male main character. It's driving me crazy because I've written so many stories where I didn't have this issue and I can't pinpoint the root problem. Okay, so I keep saying this. I've been saying it since Kentucky, and I'll probably say it forever. The way that you fix pretty much any problem in your writing is you live truthfully in imaginary circumstances. Like, whenever somebody talks, and this is only going to work for people that it works for. It's not going to work for everybody, so take that as you will. But this is how I approach it. Whenever somebody talks so clinically about character creation, about, oh, I injected a little bit of this and I made them a little bit like that, it is so bizarre to me because I don't really choose the strengths and weaknesses or personalities of the characters that come to me. Is as crazy as it sounds, okay? I hear character voice, I write character how they talk, and then I just, as I'm editing, their personalities come out more and more with the future edits. And so by saying, oh, I injected this into there, and so then now I'm writing as they have this, it's kind of really weird to me. So instead of saying this character has this issue, my suggestion would be, okay, who is this person? Figure out who this person is, whatever that means to you. Usually for me, it's tapping into that character voice, and then I just hold on to that character to find out intuitively who that character is, how they act to everyone around them, what they want, all of that stuff. And through that, I learn what the character weaknesses are. If you look at Joey in Bleed More, Body More, I didn't determine what her weaknesses were. I didn't determine that she would be impulsive. I didn't determine that she would be kind of self-involved, and I also didn't choose that in some way she is selfish, but in some way that she's selfless, because she's not paying attention to Jag for pretty much all of book 1. And that's going to become something that she has to face in book 3 eventually, when she realizes she's kind of been a jackass to her boyfriend and not acknowledging him the way that he has been acknowledging her. But she's kind of tied up in her own drama, and she has always been sort of more tied up in her own drama, thinking that nobody cares about her. And I didn't make those decisions. It was just in the voice of the way that she responds to the world around her. So you've got to live. The best way to solve any of these is live truthfully in the imaginary circumstances. Who is your main character? What is it that they want? How do they respond to things? How do they get the things that they want? How what tactics are they willing to use to get what they want. That makes sense? And then if you just live truthfully through that, make decisions that the character would make that then have consequences that the character may not have wanted, that you may not have known were going to come. One of the other problems with turning into a Mary Sue is these characters make decisions that would technically firebomb their relationships or would get them in trouble, but the author shields them from the consequences of those actions so they're not actually damaging and it doesn't destroy the plot path. That is how you make non-flat characters. I've gotten over the fact that my idea isn't original. Now, how do I get over knowing someone's done it really well? What is your experience with this? Is knowing that nobody has told the story how you can tell the story. So the thing that makes your version of a story really stand out is that you are the only one with your point of view. A book shows the world how you see it. So it doesn't matter that somebody else has done it really, really well. Nobody has seen it how you see it. Nobody has seen your characters. Nobody has seen your point of view, your imagination, any of that. Also, like I was saying earlier, if I'm in the mood for an abandoned building ghost story, I'm not going to get tired of looking at different abandoned building ghost stories, okay? I just want more of them. So, it doesn't matter how many people have done it. Show me your perspective, your point of view, your version of whatever it is, and do it well. You are not in as much as other people, as much as you might think, you're not actually in competition with other people because you are the only version of you. The only person you're in competition with of telling your version of the story is yourself. You gotta make it through. You've gotta polish it. You've gotta tell the best story that you can tell, and you've got to believe in it and get it out there. And that is the difference. You could end up being this person, the one that other people see going, oh, my story is like their idea, but they did it really, really well. Writing isn't about what other people are doing. Writing is about what you are doing, what your story is, what you need to tell the world, what you need to write. Everything else is just distraction. I don't read a whole lot of traditional books, and I don't think I ever really will. Does this inherently make me worse off? Yes, it does, because you learn about style and prose and pacing by reading other books. To be flat, I've always had a few series of books in a few genres that I love and one I always come back to. I've never been the type to just pick up a new book whether I'd like it or not. It has to do with myself and my own philosophies. With these few series I've read, along with the books and stuff that I've had to read during high school, I've decided not too long ago to finally put words on paper and begin writing a plot because I'm an active dreamer. I've started developing 5 plots because my mind had written plot points and character arcs and have a few dozen pages. They are all entirely unconnected, and I have a separate document where I express the worlds and universes. But browsing through this subreddit has made me question if I have a chance to not be a bad writer if I don't read many traditional literature. I'm more interested in consuming lore and stories of other media such as games or movies. Lots of people have said that you improve your writing through reading, but is that true in the sense that I can't be a good writer without it? I suppose another way to put it is that I'm likely not going to jump into a whole bunch of new traditional books. I want to stay consuming media at my own pace and watch dozens of YouTube videos on literature because that is the way that I enjoy reading most of the time. I'll get into a new series here and there, but I'm not an active reader like people say you have to be. So number one, I always ask this of people that say I don't read, is why should anybody read your book if you're not going to read anybody else's book? Like, you don't find enjoyment in reading. So why would people find enjoyment? Why do you think that other people should promise you their time if you don't invest in reading? But you can learn different trades, different ways to use creativity and different ways to think of storytelling by consuming other media like games and movies and television and radio, dramas, and theater. All of these things can teach you different forms of writing and drama and storytelling. However, you're not going to learn the specific pacing or the different elements of storytelling via book if you're not reading books, because each of these different media forms have different elements, different pacing, different ways of writing, different ways of presenting information. And that includes not just the story elements, but the formatting elements for paragraphs, for talking, for descriptions, for all of these things. So it is important that you read so you can learn the elements of what it is you are trying to write. If you don't want to read, but you enjoy these other forms of media and storytelling, I might recommend that you try to write for those. Because it's just, you're not going to be at the top of your game if you refuse to consume the content for the industry that you are trying to join. But I would again ask, why do you want to be a book writer if you don't want to read books? What is causing you to desire to be a book writer? That's something to... And what is your end goal? Do you want to be a really big famous writer? Do you want your stuff to become a movie? Granted, you don't have to be a great writer to have stuff become movies. There's the Hello One Direction fan fiction from Wattpad that became a movie a couple years ago. How are you doing? But there are different ways to do things. But what is your end goal, and what are you hoping to get out of the experience? Those are all things to consider. Also, why are you resistant to reading? I know that it's hard to find a reading list, to create a reading list, and it is a time commitment to read a book. But again, then that says, why should other people trust you with their time if you're not willing to use your time to study other things? This is the difference between writing as a craft and an art, and then just writing. So consider those. With that said, I think that's all we're going to answer today. What are your thoughts on all of the questions that I brought up today? I would love to hear your opinions on any of those subjects. If you enjoy what I do on this channel, please remember to like it, share, subscribe, comment, and until next time, thank you so much for watching. See you tomorrow at Loinstream, continuing Empress Teresa. We are more than halfway there. Teresa has become a supervillain. Might I say that I am surprised. With all that said, thank you so much for watching, and have a great weekend. Don't die.
The only people who should come are those who want to meet their monsters.
If this is what Agatha wants, I don't know how we can even dispute it.
I change lives, baby.
And I and them. Sweetheart, no bargains hold. Only fools know restraint.
Only losers lose!
I've been under the knife so many times, I'm practically immune to it.
If your scissors are dull, may I recommend sharpening them with leather?
I think I hit you.
Mima says I must have a guardian angel.
To enter the ring but abstain from playing is suicidal. Your virtue makes you nothing but a liability.
You're gonna die. You're gonna die. You're gonna die.